Hey everybody, it's Brittany. So today I'm going to go over allopathy, or an allopath, and talk about its definition. It's something is misconstrued quite a bit by a lot of different people. So it's surprising to many, something that actually came out of homeopathy. I think it's really funny actually, because it's like the only part of homeopathy I know that's like totally gone mainstream, in the sense that like everybody knows the word allopath, right? However, it is misused. So colloquially, we talk about it as somebody who does conventional medicine, like a MD is usually what people are referring to when they talk about an allopath. However, that's not really true at all. I mean, it's true that they're an allopath, but a lot of other people are allopaths, and I always think it's funny actually when an ND, like a naturopath, calls someone an allopath, sort of with some disdain in their voice, because, as I'm about to tell you, a naturopath exactly meets the definition of an allopath. But anyway, so the term came from Samuel Hahnemann, the founder of the profession of homeopathy, and he came up with the term as a way to break medical practice into a couple different philosophies. So he had essentially 4 categories. I'm only really going to go into them briefly here. I'll do another video on all of them more in depth. But homeopathy, isopathy, enantiopathy, and allopathy are his 4 categories. So 2 of them. This is where I always get myself confused. 2 of them are really based on the so-called pathic relationship to the substance you're prescribing and the person's condition. And that's enantiopathy and homeopathy. So in homeopathy, we prescribe based on the law of similars, so you prescribe something similar to the person's complaint. And enantiopathy is where you prescribe something that's the opposite to the person's complaint. A good example is opium. Opium takes away pain, and so in enantiopathy, you would prescribe opium when someone's in pain, so you can tell already, right, most of the world, other than homeopathy, would prescribe opium this way. It's where all of our opiates come from. But in homeopathy, we prescribe it the opposite. We prescribe it to people who don't feel enough pain, who are, sort of unfeeling in a sense. Now, I don't mean that like emotionally, but like they don't react as strongly as someone who's quote unquote healthy would. So that's 2 of them. I'm just going to ignore isopathy for now because I think it's just going to confuse us. But allopathy is when there is no relationship between the symptoms the substance creates on the healthy and the person's condition. So, for an example, if you give a detox to somebody, this is why I think naturopaths are exactly the definition of allopathy. If you give a little tincture full of a bunch of herbs to somebody to detox their liver, let's say, really, there's a couple of leaps you're making. You are saying, based on the symptoms, I believe there is a toxin buildup in the liver. Then you take a bunch of herbs that supposedly remove those toxins, and you give it to that person. There is no relationship between the symptoms the herbs create on the healthy and the symptoms the person is having. It's not opposite, it's not similar, it's just not related. It's more based on a theory than it is based on the type of symptoms the substance creates on the body. Okay? So, you can tell, since that is the actual definition of allopath, most of the medical world actually falls into this bucket. Chiropractors, energy healers, obviously conventional medical practitioners, naturopaths, functional medicine practitioners, they're all operating on different theories or, something other than the symptoms this thing creates on the healthy body. And I don't mean that to be an insult at all. I'm just sort of talking about strict semantics here. And because I think a lot of those professions are fantastic and I see them as practitioners all the time. But I think we just need to be clear about the definition, and in particular, I think homeopaths need to be clear about the definition, because I don't think you really can understand what homeopathy is if you don't actually know what allopathy is. Because I think there are a lot of homeopaths out there who sort of get themselves into a bind and end up actually practicing a little bit of allopathy, and I think it's because they don't quite understand the definition of homeopathy versus allopathy. You can always mix them. Naturopaths do this all the time. Naturopaths prescribe homeopathic medicines a lot, and so they're practicing homeopathy. I don't know, you wouldn't call them homeopaths necessarily because it's not all they do, but then they mix in a lot of more allopathic types of things. But I think we just need to do it knowingly. I think we get into trouble when we mix things and we actually don't really know what we're mixing or doing. Yeah. I will say this is actually one of the reasons I love homeopathy in particular, is that we have a philosophy that guides our practice. I feel very uncomfortable with just prescribing things based on a theory. I like that in homeopathy we are matching facts. Like exactly what happened when you gave a substance to a healthy person. Those are facts. What happened to the facts of the case. What the patient in front of you is experiencing. I like that. There's no fiddly bits. It's just matching one fact to another. Whereas, with allopathy, where you are prescribing based on theory, there's a lot more room for funny business, which I don't like at all. But that's just me. I mean, that's why I'm a homeopath. Anyway, so I hope this cleared some things up. All right, till next time. Bye.